Okay, I think we're ready to begin. Are you ready? Thank you for being here tonight. I'm Louise Rothman-Reamer with the League of Women Voters of Oakland, and the League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. Before we start, as a matter of courtesy, please turn off your cell phone, anything that has a switch, all electronic devices. Please be aware that unauthorized videos are not allowed by the FCC, which requires that a debate or forum must not be edited and must be broadcast in its entirety. This means that no candidate may use or edit footage for campaign purposes, no matter how it is obtained. Also, campaign literature and other forms of campaigning are not permitted inside the forum room, and I'd like to remind everyone present that the candidates have all agreed to participate under these guidelines. They are also posted outside the room. Tonight, the League is sponsoring a forum for City Council for District 5. And we have Don McMahan, Shelly Garza, Mario Juarez, and Noel Gallo. Welcome. Let's just talk a little bit about the ground rules. The timekeepers will signal candidates with colored signs marked with 30 seconds and stop. Each candidate shall have 1.5 minutes for opening remarks, and we drew lots, and so Dawn is first, and we will just go along the line there. As you came in, you were asked to fill out question cards. We have people who will collect those, and I have some questions to begin with. So if we're ready, let's begin. Dawn, would you please make your opening statement?
My name's Dawn McMahan. I am the Executive Artistic Director of the Pythia Arts Foundation, the creator and director of the Phoenix Rising Homeless Project, which is a community development innovative program that has been successfully installed in several homeless shelters and long-term programs that involves working with the body, with former prostitutes, drug addicts, women, and children. I'm also the creator and developer of the Oak Tree Arts Center, which is my home that I have opened up to my neighborhood to provide social services and arts programming. Again, very innovative, with a very intimate relationship with my neighborhood. I have never had children. These are my children. These families are close to me. And I have worked on myself and have educated myself in substance abuse counseling and the issues of the homeless, as well as the arts, over decades with experience in working with all sorts of nonprofit and arts organizations. And I come to you in service.
Thank you. Shelly Garza?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Shelly Garza. I'm running for City Council because I understand that our city is in dire strait. As a former city employee to City Council member at large Henry Chang, I understand how difficult it has been for our city. I understand the solutions that we have to bring forward. Under two city managers, I learned collaboration and how to work together with the City Council, the mayor, and our directors. I understand collaboration and what we need for our city. For the last 4 years, as a small business owner, I have tirelessly worked with entrepreneurs to help guide them to be able to open up their small businesses, providing resources, guidance, as well as giving them the tools that they need to become successful businesses, as well as bringing revenue into the city. As a community advocate, as a former city employee, and a small business owner, I have the ability to bring responsive leadership to our city council. I will continue my commitment as a leader on the city council, as I have as a leader in the community. Remember, vote Araceli Shelly Garza, November 6th. Thank you very much.
Mario Juarez.
First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for always providing this valuable service that you always do. So thank you very much for that. Friends, neighbors, Oaklanders, my name is Mario Juarez, and I am running for Oakland City Council. This is District number 5, district that covers the Fruitvale, Glenview area of my district. I am a small business owner. I grew up in this district. I went to all the local schools from Hawthorne Elementary and 28th, where I grew up on that street, on Simmons on 35th, and Fremont High School. I'm a father of 4 kids, and I'm raising my young family. My youngest son goes to Manzanita Seed down in the Fruitvale district. I am running for Oakland City Council because our city is in a state of crisis. There's no other way to put it. It's not normal for a city to have to bury a 5-year-old and then a 1-year-old in West Oakland, and then only a few months before that burying a 3-year-old in East Oakland again. This is not normal. And yet in our city has become the norm, and we have come to accept that. I am running for Oakland City Council because I want to expand the policies on not only how do we increase our police force, how do we get Oaklanders to fill those jobs, how do we make sure that we target the people who are committing most of the crime in Oakland, which unfortunately are people who are coming back from prison. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the fact that Oakland is at a state of crisis in terms of our schoolings. Out of every 10 students, 4 of them are dropping out. That's a terrible position to be in a city. Almost half of our students are dropping out. I want to bring plans and policies that talk about not only the problems, but how to resolve those problems and how to prioritize them. I want to talk about the policies that tells us how to find the funding that is required for this type of ideas, the taking away of exemptions. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes, thank you, and good evening to all of you. I would also like to express my appreciation to the League of Women Voters, not only for hosting this event, but also throughout the years, I've seen the leadership, I've seen your involvement as volunteers in our schools. So that's to be commended, applauded, and it should continue to grow in the city of Oakland for our children to succeed and so forth. I grew up in the city. I continue to live off the Fruitvale Avenue, and I continue to have my children live and grow and do business in the city of Oakland. I graduated from St. Elizabeth High School. I graduated from UC Berkeley School of Business and Administration. And my youngsters are all graduates of Oakland High School, Fremont High School, Stanford University, and UC Berkeley. And so the reason why I am running is that I have served on the Oakland Board of Education for the last 19 years. So I have the experience when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to policy development, when it comes to labor relationships, and when it comes to public engagement. And so I am here today because I recognize, and we all recognize, that one is public safety is a priority here in Oakland, so we need to address that. But at the same time, job creation and education needs to be at the very forefront in terms of moving this city along to be competitive in the region, as well as to provide a future for my children and yours. And I think that's the ultimate goal and my drive for wanting to serve on the city council. So it's not just so much about ideas, but it's about taking action. And certainly I have taken part in a leadership role where I have made tough decisions and taken active participation with actions. Thank you very much.
All right. We will begin, and we'll start the first question with Mr. Juarez. How do you see your first months in office? What will be your priorities? What will you tackle first?
Obviously there's many things to do in the city, and I have made the priorities this of public safety. But I think that there's some house cleaning that needs to be done in terms of what I need to do. I want to make sure that we move our city council from bi-weekly meetings to weekly meetings. I think this is important because this is a full-time job, and it needs to be addressed right away. It talks about the urgency of the policy body of this city to address important issues on a full-time basis, because the issue of safety is not going to get resolved in a matter of months. It's actually going to take the better part of much of our terms. So I want to make sure that we move our city council proposals to that, of making sure that we meet on a weekly basis, bring full-time attention to that. Certainly I have an interest in serving on the right boards, on the right committees. The safety committee is one that I would prefer to serve, and so certainly I'll do that. But it's also to bring the consensus with the people who are coming on board. One of the things that is important is that not only am I going to be a council member that is going to try to be the advocate for the positions, but you have to be an effective council member, and that takes 5 votes. I seek to bring those together.
All right, thank you. Shelly Garza.
My number one priority is, like everybody's right now, it's public safety. But my first month in office, I want to make sure that our city services are continued. I want to implement a district office, a satellite district office, so we can continue to bring the programs that the city has and bring them into the district. That's going to be my first priority, because if we do not focus on what the citizens need immediately. I mean, I know for a fact that our citizens are having trouble just getting anything done when it comes to City Hall. Any certain little resources, it's very difficult for them. So I'm going to bring a district office to them to make it easier for them to get the services that they need, as easy as permit process or business licenses. That's my first thing that I'm going to do in the first month.
Thank you. Dawn.
I really like Mario's idea. I completely agree with weekly meetings. That's great. I am also all for having, because our district is so diverse, having regular meetings with the citizens in different places throughout the district, and really being intimately involved with the district. I already have a satellite. My home, where I work, everyone knows my home phone number. I've worked on myself for years to be able to handle this kind of transparency, because it really is my home, the whole entirety of it is. But what I'm really going to be focusing on is those first months in office, is organizing, making sure that City Hall is functioning well, the transparency and the honesty and the integrity running through that, because there's a trickle down of that into the rest of the city, isn't there? But also, I'm going to be gathering together.
Mr. Gallo.
You're just going to have to wait.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes. The first order of business, I think, first of all, is we have to create a strategic plan for the city of Oakland as a city council and as a mayor together. And we have to agree in terms of how are we going to position Oakland to compete in the regional level, let alone in the world level. And I think that needs to be very clear so we all can agree upon. So at every meeting, then we can stay focused on that direction to take Oakland, and whether it's dealing with the issue of safety, because we all say safety is number one. But yet we don't have an organizational strategy that clearly says what is our priorities in safety, because one day is curfews, the next day is gang injunctions, the third day is a ceasefire, then you have all these other tools that we're trying to bring together to address the issue of safety. So what I propose is that the city council and mayor come together and create a plan that we can all follow and stick to, as opposed to doing what we do now. And if you look at our city council, we don't have order. We don't have a set agenda that we can follow and be very direct. And so I think that needs to happen first. It's not the number of meetings, it's how effective your meeting is to get to the business in hand and to serve the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's start with the next set, and this time let's start with Shelly. How do you plan to address the division controversy OPD caused by the use of gang injunctions?
Well, I mean, it's very clear I don't support gang injunctions. I don't support them because there's already a mechanism in place that the state has in order for that. Look, I'm all for providing tools for police officers. That's great. But the gang injunction is just a safety zone that keeps 30 individuals away. It's not helping crime. Crime is continuing within that safety zone. I think that the injunction is not reducing the crime. I am about providing long-term solutions. I'm about including wraparound services for those individuals, even for those individuals that have low-level offenders. You know, they're stuck in this revolving door already. So we need to be able to provide services that can get these individuals out of this revolving door if they want to. Gang injunctions don't work. It just keeps people out of the safety zone and keeps crime going.
Okay, Mr. Juarez.
From the get-go, gang injunctions don't work. We have 94 murders year to date. We have gang injunctions in place in Oakland. They're not finding effective. I don't agree with gang injunctions because they're also not the fiscal prudent thing to do. They cost too much money. What happens when you go from 30 to 60 to 60 to 300 to 300 to 3,000 people on a list, in a given list? They just keep moving the crime away. So it really doesn't provide an effective tool to combat crime. And I think that is essential in order to understand how policies work. However, I do agree with other terms. Now, I do want to point out also that when you do have criminals combining with each other, when they're conspiring to commit a crime, that's actually a crime. And working in our community, what we have found out that works better than gang injunctions is actually to have our walking officers, our beat officers, our problem-solving officers working with the community in getting those type of people who are the bad elements out of our communities. Okay, and then that's what really works. Those are the long-term approaches, the actual solutions that people want to hear. I think that when people want to hear the gang injunctions, they hear something that may work, but it doesn't.
Okay, Mr. Gallo.
You know, I think that we in Oakland have to be serious about crime and dealing with safety. If you look at the Fruitvale area specifically, crime and assaults have risen. All right, so those are serious issues. So we need to provide all the tools necessary because a lot of the murders and so forth have been gang related. We have to be upfront about that and can't make any excuses about it. So I think not only do I support the gang injunction for violent offenders, because we do have them in our neighborhoods, and I support more police officers, and I also support curfews because I believe that our young people should be at home studying, reading, doing their homework so they can get ahead and not have a negative experience at school. And so I also support zero tolerance for the graffiti and for the blight. Because in our neighborhoods, you have that from block to block, and we're allowing that to happen. So we, at times here, we tolerate too much negative behavior. We make excuses for it. But at this time, we need the tools necessary to address crime as a whole, specifically in District 5. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. McMahan?
The city council is the parental unit for the city. It's not just about there being gang injunctions, it's about the behavior of the police force. And there are people on my board that are retired cops, and I've been speaking and conversing with some that I have respect for, definitely. But if we're going to heal the relationship, which is what you were asking about, then there's going to need to be an involvement, a direct involvement, a personal involvement of city council in there with the police force, as well as with the schools. I'm really good at being a pain in the butt and asking lots of questions. And while also being very candid and straightforward and nice. But that is what is needed. We need to be working with the police and get to know them as part of this healing process.
Okay, we have another question here about police. With Oakland down to half the number of sworn police officers needed by a city of this size, what must the city do to share its problem-solving officers with different beats, and at the same time allow our beat officers to really look at the what's happening in certain block areas. And so, as our council member, what steps would you take to ensure that the district will benefit from the incremental increases of the police force from each police academy? And let's start with Mr. Gallo.
Yes. That's a great question. And I certainly, believe and support increasing the number of police officers. But at the same time, I also agree with the partnerships within the neighborhoods, within our business community, and with other law enforcement agencies in the neighborhood to be able to address it. Specifically in District 5. International, from 14th Avenue to 50, prostitution is out of control. It happens right across from Cesar Chavez School, and we're trying to address that issue with the Oakland Unified School District officers. But it also takes a community involvement for the community and parents to get involved to make sure that we don't continue to tolerate that behavior. I know that the numbers of police officers are not where they should be today, but we have to reach out, whether it's the highway patrol, because we are in an emergency situation that we need to address, specifically prostitution and the other assaults and robberies and home burglaries in the Fruitvale area, and those need to be addressed today, and not wait until we build the academies and hire more officers.
All right, Mr. Juarez?
So I certainly believe in the increase of more police officers and making sure that we have a resource. I think the Fruitvale, specifically the business sector, has a good example and a story to tell on how those merchants in that community works together hand in hand with the PSOs, with the walking officers. And by the way, crime did go up when we lost our PSO. Crime did go up when we lost our walking officer in the business corridor. So it was a direct correlation when we were left without the services that we needed from this city, and one of the better districts that has a tremendous amount of influence in terms of revenues and taxes to the city was left to fend for itself. So we want to bring attention to that. I'm talking about how to bring a complete policy in increasing the 1,100 officers that Oakland needs, how to make sure that Oakland's are the ones, our sons and daughters are the ones that are filling those jobs. I'm talking about how to pay for it. And this is how I propose to pay for the things that we need in Oakland, specifically more police. Let's charge a $7.95 fee on the airport. And every passenger that walks in and out of that airport and uses our airport that is owned by the city should be able to do that. 14 million passengers, $7.95, 111 is a good math.
Okay. Dawn, please.
So I hear more police, and I keep getting the image of a police everywhere. I don't want to live in a city where that is needed. I think that is addressing the solution in a way that isn't really addressing the cause of it. I do want a reasonable amount of police on the street, but I have talked to Holly Joshi, who is the head of the Special Victims Unit, and she travels all over the United States giving lectures to other police. Looking for the word. And the clock's running out. Other police forces about how to deal with prostitution. She's this amazing woman, and she called me on her cell phone while she was driving. And through talking with her and talking with Missy, and also with my years of experience in working with the underprivileged and prostitutes and substance abusers, I'm interested in developing more nonprofit organizations working together with the police force.
Okay, Ms. Garza.
Thank you very much. You know, I'm committed towards working to create safer communities and business corridors. Until we're able to bring those staffing levels up for our police officers, you know, I work towards creating relationships with private security and Oakland Police Department. I keep saying that it's important for that collaboration. And the reason why I bring private security up is because they're trained. They have eyes and ears out there. They have the eyes and ears in order to report crimes properly as well as deter crime. I mean, it's important. I will continue to work with our community residents, with our churches, with our police department, and all the other stakeholders. I mean, we have best practices out there already. We need to be able to implement them. We need to find these solutions to be able to bring, I like that $7 fee. But we have to be able to bring solutions that work now.
Okay. We'll have another question about crime-related issues. And in this instance, we will start with Mr. Juarez. What are your views on using video cameras in high-crime areas?
So once again, another example that is well applied in our district. We actually had video cameras provided by the city of Oakland and many of our businesses now on International Boulevard. We actually believe, so we have applied the cameras that we have now, we probably would have resolved the murder of one of our friends. We knew him, and he was a dear friend to me, and that's Jesus Chuy Campos. And we think that we could have gotten the people who actually committed that heinous crime, and they're still out there. I'm a believer of that. I know that our police department and our PSO has solved crimes because of our cameras that we have installed, paid by the city in collaboration with the business owners in the corridor. It has solved crimes. It had also brought a lot of light into situations that we didn't know answers to. Either where minors were being prostituted and we were able to prosecute pimps because they were doing that because we got evidence from cameras. It works. In this district, it actually showed that it works, and we can continue to expand on that. I'm a big supporter of cameras because I've seen it apply. It works in my business as well. Thank you.
Shelly Garza, please.
Thank you. 100%. The cameras work. I worked with our vendors to provide security measures when a lot of our lunch trucks, our taco trucks in the Fruitvale, they're called taco trucks, they were being robbed and assaulted, and we even had a murder at one of them. I helped implement security measures to be able to put cameras as well as private security and have a phone tree in order for these people to be comfortable, in order for our residents to be able to feel comfortable to come to the taco trucks to buy. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to get food from them. And they weren't coming because they felt it was in danger. We had to put security measures together in order to get them. Cameras work. From January to now, we have not had one. From March to now, we have not had one incident because of the cameras. People are feeling protected that there are cameras there.
Okay. Ms. McMahan.
In my neighborhood, I don't see a camera staying up there for very long. I think it's wonderful that it helps solve some crimes, but I don't. I think that the effort and the money needs to be put towards working with the people in the neighborhoods, and I think that has had a lot to do with crime solving and people's safety. It's community building. It's doing things that develop community. What I'm doing right now, I didn't realize, thank you, that there was actually a study done by the way I'm working with the neighborhood in Fresno, where they had a nonprofit have a lot of people like me doing what I'm doing in the neighborhood, and they gave them the name of cultural brokers, and there's a study up on my website showing how effective it is, because it enables a social worker to really connect one-on-one and actually gain the trust of people in the neighborhood and actually know what's going on and everybody that's in there. It's about that. It's about encouraging that.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes, I support the use of technology and security cameras. I mean, I've seen it work in our schools. And if you look at our high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools, we have security cameras, and it's been a deterrent in terms of crime and vandalism within our schools. I support it in the business community. Not only do you see it in schools in the business community, but you also see residents using security cameras now, specifically where a neighbor will invest in a camera system that'll watch my neighbor's yard as well as mine. And so I support technology as a tool to deal with the issue of safety. Thank you.
Okay. The next question is divisiveness and feuding on city council has transformed Oakland into individual fiefdoms, all competing for the same diminished resources and city services. How would you work on the city and community levels to increase effectiveness in service delivery? And let's start with Dawn.
I think one of the things that everyone's forgetting is that we don't exist in a vacuum. We have to function together as a city. And I bring that. I bring a holistic perspective on, and it's just even how my brain works. I really try to see how things interrelate and connect and affect each other in multitudinous ways. That's my joy. It's my passion. And I bring a sense of humor, in case you haven't noticed, which I think is also lacking and is so important when you're dealing with these horrible, horrible, sad issues that just cause so much sorrow. I don't know about you guys, but all of this just causes so much sorrow in me. And it's one of the reasons why I'm running. Is I have to do something more about it. Yes? Also, I didn't state earlier, I'm against gang injunctions, in case you couldn't tell, as well as curfews. Okay.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes, I think that one is this city council, the new city council, if it's to move forward and recognize the city as a whole, that's our priority. Yes, we do have districts, but the city needs together. And I think that one is what's missing at the city council, and that's where you have a lot of argument, debate, and competition, because there's no set plan to move the city to one direction. So if you see at every meeting, one is you have complete disorder at the meetings, right? Everybody says safety is a priority, but when it comes to taking action, we're at a different place. So I think the city needs to come together, the city council, including the mayor, set a very clear path that we're going to stick to and try to follow, as opposed to creating divisions and in every other meeting setting different priorities. And so I believe that one is working together. We need to set a direction, a plan that'll clearly move Oakland to the next level.
Okay. Ms. Garza.
Well, it's about collaboration. It's about understanding. All of the council members always want the betterment for their district. I think what happens is, especially with so many new council members coming on, we need to be able to understand that collaboration is important. You know, we need to be able to know that ultimately the city of Oakland and the betterment of the city of Oakland is everything, is all that we all want as policymakers. We want to be able to move the city forward. You know, we're in a unique place right now. There's going to be 4 council members. You know, we have the ability to change the divisiveness that has happened. We have the ability to be able to move this city forward. We're going to inherit a city that's already with problems. But we have the ability to change it and move it forward by collaborating together.
Okay, Mr. Juarez.
We certainly are going to have 3 council members that are new, District 1, District 3, and District 5, because, you know, they have maybe District 7 will have a new council member, and in District at large, you know, there's a debate there. It will not be a new council member there. So in understanding that we have a historical opportunity for the first time in 2 generations to actually move our city forward. That's what we have in our district, in District 5, to actually have the opportunity to move with new ideas for the first time in 2 generations in this district council, for someone else to bring something forward that perhaps could work. This is what I want to propose. This is what I'm coming to city council. The other, in the practical terms, is this. There are some of us that are already working in collaborations with some of those contenders in District 1, with some of those contenders in District 3, and with some of those people who are already elected and will not be seeking, who are currently in office. Because we understand that the effectiveness of a city council is to have 5 votes and to get things done. Now, I understand that we're all Oaklanders, and I have the sense that everybody in that city council understands that we're all in this together, because the policies that I propose will impact everybody else in this city, and we look forward to working with them together. Thank you.
Okay. So the next question, and we will start with Mr. Gallo. What is your position on the Sunshine Ordinance? What will you do to ensure that this is rigorously followed in Oakland city government?
The responsibility for the city council is to set the policy and direction. And the implementation is up to your staff has to administer, implement the policy. And what I think and what we're doing here is that, and even in just in our current discussion, what happens is that one is what keeps any organization, any business together, or any school district is when you have a clear set of direction that we all agree to, and that we all must enforce and implement, and not try to get creative as the process is going along. So I believe that one is we set the policy and direction, and our staff must implement that policy.
Okay. Mr. Juarez.
I'm sorry, repeat the question because
Okay,
I got confused.
the question is, what is your position on the Sunshine Ordinance? What will you do to ensure that it is rigorously followed in Oakland city government?
So currently, we have issues. I make a request for documents. City staff doesn't comply with that. There's no real penalty. There's no real teeth to this policy. So what would I do? Provide real teeth, real solutions. So initially, what I was thinking is perhaps to even make it part of the preview of the Ethics Commission to actually enforce complaints that are not followed. When the city does not comply, allow them to be the baddie that actually decides when one document needs to be presented or not. And I actually think that that's an innovative idea because it doesn't require us to do anything different except to actually bring new set of policies that mandates for them to be the enforcer of this policy. These are practical solutions. We just got to think out of the box. We got to start thinking about how to do things differently because what's been there is not working. If it was, then we would not be having this discussion about this one issue. But in the Sunshine Policy, I certainly agree with it. I think that everything should be allowed to be previewed. And I'm certainly disheartened when I see the city staff doesn't comply with the request of the citizens to be provided with documents that they require. So this is my stand.
Okay. And Dawn.
Having been someone who's had to deal with not being able to get documents, even when running for city council, and also coming across people who are holding panelist discussions for us in debates, running into them in the voter's office and finding they can't get documents either. It's a real problem, and it creates a huge culture of distrust. And as I said before, there's a trickle down with that kind of attitude that affects the rest of the citizens. Thank you. So good at that. I don't know that I agree with getting the ethics committee, the ethics commission involved in it. Is such a wonderful idea. I think that it needs to be addressed on the level of who we are employing, and that needs to be addressed. And there's going to be a huge turnover, as there always is, when we get this much city council people into city government, and that it needs to be dealt with right then before they're even hired. We need to make sure of that they're going to follow through.
Okay. Next question. Oh, I'm sorry, Shelly. I wrote your number down. I apologize.
Maybe they won't see me.
got you, Shelly.
You know, the sunshine ordinance is in place. I mean, when I worked for city administrator's office, we saw how difficult it was for people to get anything done. I mean, you know, I was in the era where Robert Bob was banishing bureaucracy, you know, and he wanted to make sure that any documents were asked for, we got them to them as soon as possible. You know, it's about making sure that you live up to the policies that are written. This is an ordinance that has been in place. It's about the directors, it's about the mayor, it's about the administration not following it to the rule. We have to hold people accountable and have them follow the rules. It's written.
Okay. Next question. Measure I. The mayoral parcel tax on the ballot in last year's special election promised to support more police officers, but it did not pass because city leaders did not clearly define how the funds would actually be spent. As one of the ways to build trust in our leadership, would you insist on earmarking funds from the proposed parcel taxes in the future? And let's start with Shelly.
I don't see that there's a problem earmarking, because that way we protect funds that the public wants them for specific programs. I've never had a problem with earmarking any specific programs. I don't know that we would be in this budgetary crisis if we would have earmarked for specific programs. I mean, we wouldn't be in a problem. I don't know any more about that.
Okay. Mr. Juarez.
I don't think that Measure R didn't pass only because it was not specifically earmarked. I think it had a lot of fundamental problems with it. It also included the fact that, first of all, voters do not trust City Hall to spend their money, and that's actually the biggest factor. And I think that when voters don't have the trust that you can spend their money as you promised them, regardless of how you earmark it, because we have a good example of that in Measure Y. It was earmarked. It was promised beat officers in every one of our beats. And what did we get? We didn't get that. We were promised 800 plus officers. Did we get 800 plus officers? Last count, we have 612 officers, 641 officers in between that number. That's a ridiculous number of a low amount of officers that we have on the street. We should actually hold the city council to account for that, because the promises were made to the voters. Voters went to the polls, and they don't feel comfortable in going back. So it was not just the fact that it was not earmarked and the leaders didn't explain to the voters. The leaders do not probably realize that the voters didn't trust them again.
Okay, Mr. Gallo.
Yeah, you know what it comes down is to the discussion we're having. One is you know, we say one thing, but we do another. And I think it's even with a discussion in terms of where our job is to create policy and direction. The staff that we hire is to implement that policy, whether it's Measure Y, Measure I, or any other measure. And that needs to be adhered to. Now, in terms of the issue with Measure Y is clearly defined. Perhaps we need to rethink and create some flexibilities to allow us, in case we get in a different situation in the city, to do that, to change, make some changes necessary. But I think that what happened with Measure I and any other measure is, you're right, you have to regain the trust of the public. So it's not about just more police, but it's more police with performance. And I think that's what the public is looking for, that if I invest any more dollars in the city of Oakland, I have to have a return on my investment. And that's what the issue is. So not only do I create a direction, but whoever I hire to implement it, they must carry that implementation through. Thank you.
And Dawn.
I did not appreciate how the police force was cut back, that they were asked to take either a cut in pensions because the budget was short, and then holding them for ransom, cut in pensions, or laying off police officers. I didn't appreciate laying that also on the unions, asking our working class to take pension cuts. Didn't appreciate that. And then putting it on a parcel tax. This is wrong. We're not functioning right, and it feels like there's a level of integrity missing. That we're doing that and showing up with a budget and going, oh yeah, well, you know, now we're going to have to ask you to do this. It doesn't seem right. I have absolutely no problem with doing something with a parcel tax if more police were required, but I really think that our budget needs to be handled more sincerely, that it needs to be more prepared, and we need to be putting more thought in how we're treating our working class and those that are sacrificing their lives for us.
Thank you. The next question, and we will start with Mr. Gallo. Redevelopment, the redevelopment cuts, but surely there are other ways to get funding, grants, alliances with private entities and other public money. What's your plan to get funding for redevelopment in District 5?
Thank you. Let me just continue on the last one here, because I have experience in terms of dealing with parcel taxes and also bond obligations with the school district. And for everyone, we have a specific advisory committee that dictates and oversees how the money's spent according to what we told the taxpayers to spend it. And that committee reviews and approves it, then it sends it up the channel for us to approve their recommendations in terms of what's being done with the taxpayers' dollars. But in terms of redevelopment funds, I think that one is we have opportunities with other governmental agencies. One is to partner on development, and that includes the district. I mean, the district right now, if there's a governmental entity, we've invested over $1 billion to build brand new facilities and schools. But yet the city has been absent in terms of that direction leadership. So I think there's opportunities downtown Oakland. You have a number of high school charter schools that should be part of the scheme within the city. The city needs to move together as one, whether you're a school district or you're another governmental agency in Oakland, but we got to do business together to drive Oakland, to create jobs and create the economic base. Thank you.
Mr. Juarez.
So once again, this gives me another opportunity to speak about some of the stuff that is not so new, maybe out of the box, but in Oakland you can do this. We can take a page from San Francisco and create zones that we call master plan developments, basically around some of our priorities in terms of our city. And so, for example, around transit villages, we can even take, for example, the Coliseum City, and this is just for mere example in discussion tonight. So you master plan for this. And one of the biggest challenges that redevelopment poses is the access to cash. Well, guess what? The city of Oakland has the ability to bond money, which is our way of borrowing money. When you master plan for the things that matter, for the developments that include low income, middle income, working poor, folks of that nature, we can do that. We can actually master plan around those developments. We can actually raise the money, and we can pay that money back, the bond money, from the project itself. These are some of the concepts that we can move forward. They have done it in San Francisco. I propose that Oakland moves it forward.
Okay. Ms. Garza.
I don't have any good ideas on this redevelopment. Look, I'm a small business owner, and in hard times, I know how to tighten up my bootstraps. I know that we need to work together to grow our businesses. I'm a firm believer about growing, expanding, and keeping existing businesses. I think that collaboration is the key. I agree with Noel when he says we have to work together and bring redevelopment money to be able to work together. It's about collaboration, about being creative and being able to work together. As small business owners, we know how to do that. And it's about extending our ability to be able to want to grow within our district. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Dawn?
Redevelopment should not just be about bringing more business in or just about building low-income housing or just about. It really needs to all come together. So when we're talking about redevelopment, we really need to think about the violence. We need to think about the safety issues. We need to think about how we are going to include the solutions to those as we move forward. And one of the ideas that I'm touting is bringing the for-profit sector in to support the nonprofit sector and developing our nonprofit sector. Those service agencies that can provide jobs for people that, as well as services of those that have been incarcerated. I mean, how many for-profit businesses do you know that want parolees on their payroll? Yes, and I do. Okay, I'll stop.
Okay. Let's see. Then let's go to Shelly Garza. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I guess we actually finished that question, didn't we? I
having a long
apologize.
day.
So for the last question, I know what happened. So the last question that I'm going to ask before you get to make your final statements is, what do you think is Oakland's biggest problem, and what are you going to do about it? And let's start with Dawn.
Okay, well, I can continue talking about what I was talking about before. And it's about community development, and it's about getting different organizations to work together. And I've actually already started doing that in talking to Holly Joshi and realizing that prostitution is a multifaceted crime. To directly answer your question, or actually I should say multifaceted victimization, unless you include the pimps. It really is the public safety is the biggest issue that I see, because it's stopping businesses from growing, and it's wreaking havoc. It's causing all sorts of problems all over the place, and it's there as a result of a bunch of different illnesses and issues coming together. So how I'm going to work on it is how I'm working on it now, is by getting in touch with people and seeing where their loopholes, where their issues are, why Missy can't work with the police force, why they're at odds with each other, and then start getting them together and finding other organizations that can come in and work with them. But we need to invest in our nonprofit organizations and get them strengthened.
Okay, Ms. Garza? Sure. What do you think is Oakland's biggest problem, and what are you going to do about it?
Besides public safety, that's our biggest problem at this moment. You know, it goes hand in hand. Public safety, if we have issues to keep our communities safe, there's no businesses coming into our communities. It's about giving that opportunity to our businesses, as well as keeping our city safe, especially our area in the Fruitvale, and not so much the Glenview, but the Fruitvale. I mean, we're having problems with public safety there. It's about bringing together law enforcement and private security to come up with creative solutions to be able to curb these problems that we have. I sound like Dawn now all of a sudden. You know, it's important that we bring collaboration. It's important that we create economic development within our community. It's about bringing in new businesses. In order to do that, we have to streamline our permit process. We need to be able to build our communities, make them safer in order for people to live and thrive.
Okay, Mr. Juarez.
Oaklanders, for the last 5 years, I've been talking about the priorities for our city. Safety first. I did a white paper, and you can read more about it on mario2012.com, and I would invite you to go and do that. Safety first is our priority. It has been the priority since I was a young child growing up on 28th Avenue in Oakland. And so it talks about the three policies that we can do, at the three levels of policy that we can generate. The number one is the expansion of our police force to the 1,100 numbers. How do we get Oaklanders, and how do we expand the cadet program for our high schoolers so they can actually fill those jobs and those roles and protecting us? The second thing, it talks about how do we retarget the money that we get from the federal government to make sure that we target the folks for services, for food, for housing, for the things that people need coming back from prison, because that's cheaper than to have someone engaging in crime. The third element is how to properly fund the programs that actually keeps kids in school and engaged. And I'm talking about the arts, the music, the wood shop, the car shops, the sports in our high schools, to make sure the kids continue to be engaged, and how to pay for it. And that's the difference. I know how to pay for it.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes, just to, again, going back to your last redevelopment question, a good example of your question is the Fruitvale Transit Village, when you had BART, the city, the county, nonprofits, and the federal government involved in creating a project. And I think that's the future that we must follow, because it's not going to be able to, we're not going to have all the resources necessary. But on the issue, what is the priority? I think in walking door to door, and I walk door to door throughout my district and live there, and the number one issue is safety. When I look at the Glenview families, their number one issue is people are breaking into their homes. When I go down to the neighbors on Fruitvale Avenue where I live, their issue is they're being assaulted. They're being broken into their homes. So what you see is a fence, a dog in the yard, bars on your window, bars on your front porch, and now you're starting to see security camera watching our neighborhood. So for me, we have to address that, and I think this city council has talked about it, has provided many ideas, but hasn't taken a direct action to be able to provide the safety so businesses can come, will stay, as well as the residents of Oakland. Thank you.
Okay. And now I think it's time to make our final statements. And so I'm just going to go in reverse of how we started. So, Mr. Gallo, will you please make yours first?
For all the residents of Oakland, it's been an opportunity to serve at the school board level, and I look forward to continuing to serve. The issue is very clear. The issue is very clear in Oakland. We have a beautiful city with a great student body that can get to higher levels. We have a future generation that wants to make it a goal, and we as adults need to provide that opportunity. We can talk about safety. Certainly that's a priority. But the other one is job creation. I want my kids graduating from high school to have something to do, somewhere to go, so they can have a job, so they can buy their car, so they can buy, a home, so they don't have to come over and tap on you. So we need to create those opportunities, and that's something that's been missing. But I see a lot of growth in the Jingletown area and some of the areas in the Fruitvale area where there are businesses, where they're startups, incubators, or they're doing the callback type centers. So I'm excited about that, but we need to create jobs to keep young people being productive. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Juarez.
Thank you very much once again to the league for providing this venue. I want to thank all the Oaklanders who are watching us at home and actually getting engaged in this process. My name is Mario Juarez, and I am running for Oakland City Council in District 5 because I have a vision for our city that talks about moving us forward, thinking with new ideas, because I don't believe that it is the policies of the past that will move us to where we need to be, a safer city. Finally, that's what we need to find. We need to find people who can think out of the box, who can articulate how to move our city forward and how to put those positions forward, and they are practical and they know how to pay for it. That's why I'm running for city council, because I know that this is the time for me to serve, and because I'm ready to serve our city. I have served you on the Budget Advisory Committee. I have served Oakland on the Workforce Investment Board. I have served Oakland on the Park and Rec Commission. I am ready to be the next council member of District 5, and I'm ready to make sure that I provide clear, concise policies on how to move our city forward. I want to invite everybody to join the Democratic Party who has endorsed me. Every single one of every club of the Democratic Party has also endorsed me. The Sierra Club, Oak Pack, and the folks from the Latino Merchants Association, OUSD, and a lot of the other folks from our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Ms. Garza.
Thank you very much for the league for doing this for us. It's really important that the people see, that there are four good candidates, that are moving forward, that are committed to making change. I've been in the city of Oakland for 16 years. I have not sat idle. I have been there in the district, in the community, and working for the city, making sure that we make change. I have been here making change and coming up with creative solutions in order to to better our city. You know, I will continue my commitment to the district. I will continue my commitment to the city in being creative and making sure that I create change. Again, I have not sat idle. I want to grow the city. I want our residents to be happy, to live, work, and play. Vote for Araceli Shelly Garza on November 6th. If I am not your number one vote, your number two vote. I appreciate it very much. Have a good night.
Ms. McMahan.
It's about gaining trust, having integrity, and being concerned with the quality of life of everybody. I think that oftentimes when someone reaches public office that there is an infection of a certain kind of arrogance, maybe, a dissociation, maybe, which comes with having power. It's a human thing. I come from a very unique situation, being well educated, and also having a certificate in substance abuse counseling, and having worked with so many different populations, so many different kinds of people. We really need to think here about how we can support and move forward with this huge deficit of millions of dollars in the budget. How are we going to get program support? I know how to do that.
Well, thank you for taking part in this evening to meet the candidates and ask questions and indicate the interest you have in the election process. For further information about the forms and the candidates, please visit the League's award-winning website, www.smartvoter.org. There you will find descriptive information and links to other sources. Again, that's www.smartvoter.org. It's accessible from your home, from your computer, from your library, in your evening gowns and in your pajamas. Members of the League of Women Voters do hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues to keep our community strong. If you would like to get directly involved in shaping important issues in your community, keeping it safe, vibrant, strong, join us. Just visit our website, www.lwvoakland.org. Last, I want to remind you that the deadline to register to vote is October 22nd. If you have moved or changed your name or wish to change your party affiliation since you last registered, you need to re-register by October 22nd. Online registration is now available at the Secretary of State's website, www.soc.ca.gov. Remember to vote by mail or vote at the polls on Tuesday, November 6th. Encourage your family, your friends, your neighbors to vote. Thanks very much.
Thank you.